Shirt on Tuggit.com, code HERD, 20% off on Tuggit.com, code HERD. Played a decade and a half, Super Bowl, Pro Bowler. Trent Dilfer, via the Coward Global Satellite Network's joining us. All right, Washington kept franchise tagging Kirk Cousins. Vikings needed a quarterback, said we're going to move off Case Keenum. We're going to bring in Kirk Cousins. I'm watching last night, Trent. Sometimes I think they miss Case Keenum. What went wrong in this deal?
Well, I think a lot went wrong. I think the starting point is that obviously, and I think most people believe this is time, the Vikings overpaid for Kirk Cousins, but it's what the market was dictating at the time. Kirk had good timing in the whole process. Therefore, he gets overpaid, say 20, 30%. But I think there's a bigger issue going on, and it's how when the Vikings were looking at a new quarterback, to upgrade a quarterback in Minnesota, misevaluating who Kirk Cousins was. We know Mike Zimmer is an old school defensive-centric coach. He's going to want to run the ball at a high volume. He's going to want his quarterback to move the chains on critical downs and then obviously finish drives in the red zone. That's not who Kirk Cousins was in Washington. Kirk Cousins is a volume passer. He's a guy that thrived on early downs, not late downs. He thrived in the middle of games, not at the end of halves, at the end of games. He's a guy that is a stat junkie. That's not his fault, but he was a product of a lot of early down passes, schemes that fit his talent level and allowed him to be really successful. The Vikings misevaluated the type of player he is, so now you get stuck in this situation where Zimmer is forcing his coordinator to call more runs. Therefore, you're going to have more must-pass situations where Tom Brady thrives, and Aaron Rodgers thrives, and Phillip Rivers thrives, Drew Brees thrives, but not where Kirk Cousins thrives. So it was really the misevaluation of the Vikings, and they overpaid for him, and it's making Kirk look like a shell of what he really is. Whereas if he had a coach that understood who he was, then you'd be more of a volume pass team, which, by the way, they were early. You would highlight your best players on the team, Thielen, Diggs, Rudolph, and you would be a more 65-35 pass-to-run team. But that's not who Zimmer wants to be, and that's not what Kirk Cousins does well.
Okay, let's shift to Dak. The conversation now, Jerry wants him. What are we going to pay him? Where would you go with Dak on that money situation?
Well, we got another year to figure it out. I would personally, internally want to see him do something special on a playoff run. Doesn't mean win the Super Bowl, but carry a little bit more water for his team, like he did in the fourth quarter the other day against the Eagles, where he kind of puts the team on his shoulders in big situations and big moments, especially in January. I think that's one way he can earn a big contract. I still think you need to be having conversations with his agent right now saying, if you think you're going to break the bank, you're not going to. We'll start looking into the draft. We'll start looking at different options because we're not going to do it, say the Vikings did. But I think, Colin, I think this is something you can build off of here the rest of the season. It's in the next season. It builds on a bigger issue, and that's where the salary cap is really flawed when it comes to quarterback. In this next collective bargaining agreement, the players have to fight to take the quarterback salary out of the standard salary cap and create its own quarterback salary cap because players are getting hurt from it. Because there's a lot of players on the Cowboys that if they pay Dak, they're not going to be able to pay them. And it seems too easy, just to separate the quarterback out of the salary cap, put a separate salary cap on that position so that the rest of the 52 men on the roster can be rewarded as they should. Because right now, when you overpay for a quarterback, you're affecting 4 to 6 other guys that should be getting rewarded for their efforts, and they're really not.
I swear to God, I had this conversation with a buddy 2 nights ago. We had the same conversation, is that if you separated the quarterback, I don't like franchise tags either for quarterbacks. It traps them. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, you run the organization tomorrow. What kind of coach do you give him? Do you give him any pull? Should he have a say in the hire?
He should not have a say in the hire. But as an organization, you should understand Aaron well enough now over time to know what kind of coach will fit his personality, will get the most from him. You can never empower one player that much. I guarantee you Bill Belichick has not consulted with Tom Brady on very many big global decisions. You don't ever want to give a player that type of status. It will separate him from the rest of the team. It'll alienate him from the rest of the team because now the team's wondering, does he have a say in my being here or not? So it breaks that trust. For Aaron, it's pretty simple. I said this, I think, a week or two when we talked about it. It's a guy that's going to demand a ton from Aaron. That's going to come in day one and say, listen, you're already one of the greatest ever, but I'm going to push you to tap into every single thing that's in your soul to bring out even more in you. I'm going to challenge you every single day to be better. And I'm going to coach you hard. And I'm going to be honest with you when you mess up. And I will hold you to the same standard as I hold everybody else on this team to. You give Aaron that type of guy, and he's going to respond. Why do I know that? Because that's what Jeff Tedford did for him at Cal, and that's what Mike McCarthy did his first years in Green Bay. But over time, Aaron began to get treated differently, and Aaron began to have a little more say than maybe he deserves to have. And what happens is it erodes your team, it erodes the trust level. So a strong person that can come in there and have that conversation with Aaron, I think Aaron will respond great to, and I think you'll see him have multiple MVP seasons if they find that guy.
Mike McCarthy got run mid-season after a bad year. Mike Tomlin, Steelers are unraveling again and underachieving. Is it fair to say Mike Tomlin should feel heat? I mean, should Mike Tomlin be retained, or should he, like McCarthy, should there be rumors swirling? Is it time to make a move?
No, I think it's fair. I think when you underachieve, which definitely the Steelers are, it is fair. I think when drama comes out of your quarterback's mouth or your head coach's mouth, it's fair to be critical of it. I always say this, when you see the quarterback and the head coach having conflict in the media, or more, let's say it this way, contradicting each other in the media, telling different sides of the same event, you know there's issues. We saw this, again, a reference back 5 years ago at the old place, me and you talking about Aaron and McCarthy, about when it started. You saw it because they started contradicting each other in the media. Therefore, you start piecing it together. The same thing's happening with Ben and Coach Tomlin, that they're contradicting each other when something comes up. Drama comes up after a game. Therefore, there's room to criticize Coach Tomlin. I've always felt that he gets a little bit of a hall pass on certain situations. And now it's about time people dig in. Why are they underachieving?
Hey, do you have a team you want to see in the Super Bowl? I kind of like to see Andy Reid and Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I think it'd be fun. Not that I'm bored with the Patriots, but there is a little fatigue going on. Is there a team you'd like to see in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I want to see the Chiefs, not because I don't like the other teams, but I want to see a team throw their way to a championship. It really has never been done where it's spread out, take huge risks, be aggressive all the time, playmaking up and down the yard, because that's who the Chiefs are. I would like to see a team throw their way all the way to the championship game. They're on the center TV every week. It's must-see TV, and I want to see it all the way through the first weekend of February.
Yeah, I like that call, and it wouldn't break my heart to see Drew Brees win another Super Bowl. That wouldn't break my heart either.
Agreed, and I think if the Saints do it, they won't throw their way to the Super Bowl. And I'm not taking anything away from Drew, but I think that team is the most dangerous because they have such great balance, because their offensive line play. That's the thing that this time of year can't be talked about enough, is offensive line play, and the Saints have it. And that's why I would say they're probably the favorite, because they'll have balance in this race to the finish.
Good stuff today. Trent Dilfer. God, I love having you on the show. Trent, thanks so much, bud.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, how good would Kansas City and the Saints be? You get the drama of Drew Brees winning his second. Drew Brees is a beloved player in this league. He's a needle mover. And then you'd have this wild, crazy Brett Favre sort of Patrick Mahomes thing, and Andy Reid's been great but never won. This has been the best NFL season I ever remember. I said this. It's the best NFL season I ever remember. The only bummer to me was when Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt early. I was like, bummer. I want to watch him play. And then,
But compared to last year's injuries.
Oh, God, last year you had all sorts of controversies and this is like Monday.